We're here today at your first oversight hearing 9 months into your tenure, at a time when hundreds of career prosecutors have quit because they were required to take unethical actions at odds with that promise, or feared that they would have to take such actions if they remained on the job. When over 1,000 former federal prosecutors have sounded the alarm about the unprecedented degree to which the powers of DOJ are being abused to go after the president's enemies. I approach this hearing with a heavy heart. As a former federal prosecutor myself, I served in a department that, whether it was under a Democratic or Republican president, would never use the office to go after the president's enemies or to hide the corruption of his friends. But today, the Justice Department has been used to cover up the possible corruption of the mayor of New York or of a high-level administration official taking $50,000 reportedly in cash in a bag, or a child sex predator who befriended the president and some of his cabinet members.
Now think about that for a second. An official accused of taking a bribe, an undercover sting operation reportedly caught on tape, and instead of a transparent probe, the entire thing disappears from public sight. Why? Who gave the order? Was it buried to protect someone higher up or to keep political allies out of the spotlight? These are the questions that fueled outrage during the Senate hearing. Senator Adam Schiff demanded clarity, asking the Attorney General directly, did Tom Homan take the money? But rather than giving a yes or no, she dodged, repeating that the event happened before her confirmation. That's not an answer. That's an escape route. And the American people can feel it. There's something about money exchanged in a bag that hits a nerve. It screams corruption, backroom deals, and a betrayal of trust. The White House, of course, denied everything. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called the story false, claiming Homan never took a dime. But if that's true, then why not release the supposed audio or video evidence that could clear his name once and for all? Why keep the public in the dark? Transparency should be the first response, not silence.
And instead of preventing partisan weaponization, your department has engaged in a brazenly political prosecution at the president's explicit direction. The department has become President Trump's personal sword and shield to go after his ever-growing list of political enemies and to protect himself, his allies, and associates. My questions therefore focus on these two themes: hiding the corrupt acts of his friends and prioritizing the political prosecution of his enemies. So let me start with the shocking allegations of bribery and pay to play. 2 weeks ago, 4 major media outlets reported that Tom Homan, the president's top deportation official working in the White House, took $50,000 in cash in a bag from undercover FBI agents in September 2024, just over a year ago. According to these reports, Homan indicated he would facilitate securing contracts in exchange for money once he was in office in a future Trump administration. Reportedly, this exchange was caught on tape. Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, as I stated earlier, I was not in office. I was not confirmed when that was handled.
So does that
Deputy Attorney General Blanche and Director Patel said that there was no evidence that Tom Homan committed a crime. Yet now you're putting his picture up to slander him.
No, I'm putting his picture up showing an interview he gave with, I think, Fox, in which he was asked explicitly about these allegations that he took a $50,000 bribe, and he refused to answer. He said he didn't answer the question whether he took the money, so I'm asking you the question. Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, I answered that question multiple times. And frankly,
Well, I don't think, with respect, I don't think you did. But in case I just didn't hear you, what is the answer? Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, that happened prior to my confirmation as Attorney General. I said that.
Do you know, sitting here, whether he took the money?
All I know is that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Patel said there was no case. And Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy human beings I know.
So
and,
was she,
Senator Schiff,
was she
if
right?
you work for me...
Reports reveal that more than 1,000 former federal prosecutors have sounded the alarm, warning that the DOJ's independence is crumbling. These resignations aren't random. They're a response to something deeply wrong inside the system. Many insiders claim that political loyalty, not legal merit, now dictates which cases move forward and which ones are buried. The message seems clear: follow orders, even if they compromise your ethics or pack your bags. And that's exactly what many brave prosecutors have chosen to do. Let's be real, prosecutors don't quit easily. It takes years to reach that level, years of sacrifice, long nights and dedication. So when they walk out en masse, it's not out of frustration, it's a cry for integrity. They're saying, we didn't sign up to be political soldiers, we signed up to uphold justice. And yet their warning signs are being ignored. The Attorney General, confronted during the Senate hearing, brushed off these resignations, dodging accountability when asked whether her department was purging honest professionals for political convenience.
Tape. Will you support that request?
Will you apologize to Donald Trump
So
for
I
trying
guess
to
the
impeach
answer
him
is you won't support that
after
request.
you now know that
So
Joe
let me-
Biden tried
let
to
me
cover up
do
Hunter
this.
Biden's involvement with
Excuse
Ukraine?
me. Let me do this because I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Homan kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Homan paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question.
You
were
have a
asked,
law degree, Senator Schiff?
Excuse me. You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with the Hewlett-Packard merger? You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question.
Think about how serious that is. The Department of Justice is supposed to be blind to politics. That's the core of democracy. But if prosecutors are being told who to protect and who to prosecute, then justice isn't blind anymore. It's compromised. Senator Adam Schiff, during the fiery Senate hearing, highlighted this alarming exodus, saying the DOJ had become the president's personal sword and shield. That phrase stuck because it paints a disturbing picture of a justice system weaponized for revenge and protection rather than fairness and truth. Now, ask yourself, what drives a lifelong prosecutor to quit a career they've built for decades? It's not money. It's not comfort. It's principle. Many of them feared that staying would make them complicit in something deeply wrong. Some even described being asked to bury cases, overlook evidence, or drop charges for political allies. Others claimed they were warned their careers would be destroyed if they didn't comply. That's not democracy. That's intimidation. And yet, despite all this, the Attorney General, the very person responsible for defending justice, refused to acknowledge the crisis. When pressed during the hearing, she dodged questions, deflected blame, and insisted everything was under control. But can a department be under control when its most ethical members are fleeing in record numbers? When more than 1,000 former prosecutors publicly sign letters warning that the DOJ is being corrupted from within?
This is supposed to be an oversight hearing.
Oversight?
Excuse me, you can attack me after my time is over.
You've attacked all of us, including President Trump, for your entire
You can attack me later,
career.
and I know you've got plenty of canned attacks. We've heard them all day today.
Canned attacks on you?
This is supposed to be...
No one needs a canned attack on you.
Regular order, Madam Chair. I'm trying to speak. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing of the Justice Department. And it comes in the wake of an indictment called for by the president of one of his enemies.
Senator
May I ask unanimous consent, Madam Chair, to introduce into the record the statement of 1,000 former Justice Department officials who warned that the Comey indictment is a democracy-threatening abuse of power. May I also request unanimous consent for the introduction into the record of 282 former career officials at the Justice Department raising the alarm who were voluntarily or involuntarily forced to leave the department because of improper actions taken by the Department of Justice. May I introduce, with unanimous consent, the Justice Department manual that talks about when initiating and declining charges are subject to impermissible considerations. And finally, Madam Chair, may I introduce the letter from Michael Ben-Ari, a career counterterrorism prosecutor, DOJ, a letter he nailed to his door, which concludes by urging officials to do the right thing for the right reasons, to follow the facts and the law, and raises the alarm that the decision to remove experienced career officials from U.S. attorneys' offices, the FBI, and critical parts of DOJ undermines our country's abilities to counter terrorist organizations, malign nation-state actors, and countless others that seek to harm our nation and its citizens. And he believes that the priority is prosecuting the president's enemies
or are you admitting?
rather than
Bondi,
protecting
Ms.
the
Bondi,
country.
one moment.
May I have unanimous consent to enter these into the record?
Without objection?
Thank you. I yield back.
Senator Britt.
Senator Moody, may I clarify one thing he entered in the record? I just want to say that I believe he entered a letter by 200 and something former employees. Well, I believe the spokesperson for that letter was also the spokesperson for Jack Smith.
Senator Britt. Thank you, Madam Chair. General Bondi,